Welcome back to another episode of Watching Washington. It's Friday, October 4th, and I'm Will Courtney.
And I'm Kyle Herschel. Here's a look at what happened this week, starting with an investigation. Earlier this week, Judge Tanya Chutkan made a key filing from Special Counsel Jack Smith that includes evidence that was compiled for the 2023 investigation into former President Donald Trump's attempt at overthrowing the 2020 election. This filing has been delayed for almost a year due to the Supreme Court deciding that Trump is entitled to some level of immunity. In this new filing, Smith details as to why Trump's crimes does not fall under this immunity. The filing claims that even though Trump had presidential immunity at the time of his alleged crimes, his crimes were not presidential in nature and should be considered a private matter, meaning that Trump does not receive presidential immunity. The 165-page document details many instances of questionable behavior from the former president in the days following the election and leading up to the certification of the election of January 6th. From saying he was going to ignore every single mail-in ballot, to not caring when being told former Vice President Mike Pence's life could be in danger, there are many very worrying allegations against the former president in this filing. The document also details how Trump tried to use the violence at the Capitol as a distraction so that he could call senators to convince them to overturn the election results. Judge Chutkan has given the Trump team until October 10th to provide any objections with the redactions proposed by Smith. Over the last 2 days, gubernatorial candidates Mike Braun, Jennifer McCormick, and Donald Rainwater have met to debate against one another and make their policies well known to Indiana voters. Last night, Will was in Indianapolis for the gubernatorial debate. Will, what stood out to you?
Yeah, Kyle, I think if there was anything that stood out to me, something that actually I thought was very similar to the vice presidential debate that we'll be talking about later into the show, what stood out to me the most is I think Indiana voters won in this debate cycle. They met on Wednesday night, just between the two major candidates, which is Jennifer McCormick and Mike Braun for the Republican current senator, and Jennifer McCormick, who is a former public superintendent of education. What I really think, and just going back to how Indiana voters really won, is that their policy agendas were made very clear. If you're a McCormick voter, if you're a Democratic voter, and you really, really want to just vote for McCormick, you left thinking that McCormick was the winner. If you are a staunch Republican, if you're a MAGA Republican, if you think Mike Braun is your man, I think you won. I think both of them made their policy agenda very, very clear and very transparent to the average Indiana voter.
Sounds like a lot happened. Thanks for the update, Will. According to CNN, the strike at ports all along the nation's east and Gulf Coast is over. The International Longshoremen's Association and the United States Maritime Alliance announced they reached a tentative deal on wages Thursday evening. The agreement on wages amounts to a $4 per hour raise for each year of the 6-year contract. The ILA agreed to extend the contract that expired earlier this week until January 15th, while the full agreement is worked on. As a result, the 50,000 union members will return to the job Friday. The tentative deal would still need to be ratified by rank-and-file members before it goes into effect.
Category 4 Hurricane Helene struck the southeast late this past week. Helene primarily ravaged through Florida and North Carolina, creating mass devastation in its path. Recovery efforts are now in full swing. The death count has continued to rise and now sits at 137 confirmed deaths in the region. Biden has directed 1,000 active duty soldiers to aid North Carolina in this difficult time. Water safety continues to be an issue in several states. Residents are currently recommended to drink only bottled or boiled water.
There are hundreds of roads that are out. There are dozens of bridges that are out. Travel in some places is impossible. Nothing can get in, nothing can get out.
As of Tuesday, October 1st, Israel has launched a ground operation across its northern border into Lebanon, targeting the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah. This opens a new and dangerous phase in almost a year of war. The incursion, which Israel's National Security Cabinet has called the next phase of its war with Hezbollah, marks the 4th time that Israeli soldiers have publicly entered Lebanese soil in nearly 50 years. Israeli troops laid the groundwork for what is called a limited ground operation in recent days, ramping up airstrikes that have killed hundreds of people, destroyed homes, and displaced about 1 million people in Lebanon. The latest escalation comes after Israel killed Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, in an airstrike last Friday and decimated the leadership of the most powerful paramilitary force in the Middle East.
Following the ground invasion, Iran fired waves of ballistic missiles at Israel on Tuesday evening, an attack that, according to Israeli military, sharply escalated the conflict between Israel and Iran and threatens to engulf the Middle East in an all-out war. Iran launched 180 missiles at Israel, from which one Palestinian in the West Bank was reportedly killed and at least 2 others were found by falling shrapnel from the missile barrage, according to the New York Times. The rockets hit and impacted several buildings in central Israel and caused several more isolated impacts in southern Israel. Following the missile strikes, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned Tehran, the capital of Iran, had made a, quote, big mistake tonight, end quote, and vowed that it would, quote, pay for it, end quote. He claims that Iran's strike had, quote, failed, and he thanked Israel's air defense system and the United States' support for it. President Joe Biden directed the United States military to aid Israel's defense against the Iranian attacks and shoot down the missiles that targeted Israel, the White House said. The president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, responded to these pleas on X by warning Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, Iran is not seeking war, but it will firmly stand against any threats. This is only a small glimpse of power. Do not enter into a war with Iran, end quote. As the Israel-Hezbollah war continues, Israel has sent a growing number of troops to its northern frontier, fueling speculation that a broader invasion could be coming.
The bodies of 20 children and 3 teachers have been recovered after a bus transporting school pupils crashed and caught fire outside Bangkok on Tuesday. The bus was returning to the Thai capital after a school trip when the tragedy occurred. Witnesses say the bus crashed into the concrete barrier dividing the highway after a tire burst. The ages of the children on board remains unclear, but the school caters to pupils between 3 and 15 years old. 19 children and 3 teachers are reported to have survived, 16 of whom are being treated in the hospital for their injuries. Footage taken shortly after the fatal crash showed the driver attempting to extinguish the fire, but he reportedly fled the scene. The driver handed himself in to the police 61 miles north of Bangkok.
Up next, was there a clear winner of the 2024 vice presidential candidate debate?
Plus, Fidelity says Elon Musk's X is worth 80% less than when it was purchased. We'll explain what happened. Stay with us. More Watching Washington next.
Last year, we see students walking around here. These temperatures are rolling back out after that. You're watching Fast Track News.
3, 2, 1.
The Center for C-SPAN, which is this organization, the CCSC, what we do is we facilitate like a bunch of organizations, different programs for Brian Lamb, which is the founder of C-SPAN. Anyone can be part of CCSC, whether it be through our various internships, our competitions, just to be involved, even like our student community meetings that we have every week. Anyone can go, you don't have to be communications or poli-sci. You just meet so many people, the connections you make is kind of crazy, the range that CCSC has. So yeah, it's just provided me so many opportunities to like kind of achieve the goals I have personally and forward to like whatever career paths I choose.
The 2024 vice presidential debate took place on October 1st, 2024, where it featured Tim Walz, Democrat, and J.D. Vance, Republican, who discussed issues like healthcare, abortion, and border security. Vance maintained a calm and polished demeanor, while Walz gained confidence as the debate progressed, especially on reproductive rights. Both candidates had strong moments. Vance successfully connected his arguments to the Biden-Harris administration, while Walz used personal stories and a folksy approach to drive his points home. Overall, it was a well-balanced exchange with no major missteps from either side.
What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership. We've seen a calmness that is able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together.
Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength.
Both candidates were asked regarding Hurricane Helene and overall environmental issues regarding climate change. Both responded saying we need to combat climate change by coming together as Americans.
A junk dealer found a painting in the basement of an Italian village 6 decades ago, and experts now say it's an original Picasso worth millions. The oil painting features Picasso's asymmetrical style of a woman in a blue dress with red lipstick. It's now believed to be a distorted image of a French photographer and poet, Dora Maar, who is a Picasso lover, according to one expert. The man who found the painting hung up in the family home and a restaurant for about 50 years. The family tried to authenticate the artwork, and finally last month's Picasso's signature on the artwork was certified as authentic. The painting is valued at around $6.6 million.
The family hopes to get it certified by the Picasso Foundation in Paris and eventually auction it off in honor of their father, who died in 2021, but always wanted the painting to be certified and sold. This week, we dive into the latest update on Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter. According to new data from Fidelity, the platform's value has dropped dramatically, by almost 80% since Musk's acquisition in 2022. At the time of purchase, X was valued at $44 billion. However, Fidelity's latest estimates place its worth at just $9.4 billion, a staggering decline. This plunge reflects shrinking ad revenue, as concerns about the platform's content have driven many advertisers away. Analysts point to several factors contributing to this downturn. While X reports 570 million monthly active users globally, with growth outside the US, advertising pressure persists. A Cantor survey found 26% of marketers plan to cut ad spending on X next year, the steepest pullback across major social platforms. Despite Musk's efforts to transform X into a free speech hub, his public clashes with advertisers have not helped stabilize the platform's financial health. Still, the platform remains a social media giant, albeit one facing significant headwinds.
Claudia Sheinbaum received the presidential sash this Tuesday in San Lazaro after being sworn in as Mexico's first female president. The former president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, handed the sash to Ifigenia Martinez, the president of the Chamber of Deputies, who attended despite her delicate health. With assistance from López Obrador and a cadet, Martinez officially passed the sash to Sheinbaum, marking her the new president of Mexico.
Y si así no lo hiciere, que la nación me lo demande.
We have a special guest with us in the studio this week, a former Purdue veterinary medicine professor, here to discuss the changes to the vet school.
The full interview just ahead on Watching Washington.
Are you looking for a new hobby?
Or you want to have a fun evening with your friends?
Then come climb to new heights at the Co-Rec Climbing Wall.
At Purdue University, we're not just students, we're future leaders. Join Air Force ROTC to embark on a journey of honor, excellence, and service. Learn, lead, and soar to new heights. It's not just a commitment, it's a calling. Purdue Air Force ROTC, where dreams take flight. Are you ready to rise? I got a switch in my head. I go from living to dead. You got me seeing all red. Now I'm becoming.
Football. It's the best time of the year. You know what else is great? The world's largest and fastest mascot. You can't have Purdue football without the trains. Look for the Reamer Club outside Stewart Center, 12 to 5 p.m. on Fridays before home football games, for your chance to ride the Boilermaker Special for free. See you then.
We are energetic, we are motivating, and we are unique.
I don't think you can beat Quidditch.
Our in-studio guest this week is a Purdue alumni, former head of Indiana's Animal Disease Diagnostics Lab, and also a former professor for Purdue's Diagnostics Lab at the School of Veterinary Medicine, and Hovde Award recipient, Dr. Leon Thacker.
Let's go now to Watching Washington's Caroline Thacker, who is standing by with this week's interview.
Thank you. That's right. I've got Dr. Leon Thacker with me today to discuss the changes of Purdue's vet school and the limited seats available for aspiring veterinarians today. So thank you for being here. My first question is centered around the limited seats available to aspiring vets. There's only 32 vet schools in the country. So what advice would you give those pursuing a career in veterinary medicine?
One of the things is get good grades. In the admissions process, there's a potential of about 100 points that a perfect candidate would have. And 60 of those points come from the pre-veterinary academic attainment, or what grades they got in pre-veterinary medicine. The other thing is that when you're writing out a letter, which most all veterinary applicants have to do, don't start the first sentence with, "I love animals." Everybody loves animals, so that's kind of just wasted space. The other thing is that be yourself and don't just do academics. You need to be a well-rounded person. Most of the admissions committee are going to look for people who are accomplished in other areas. Like Caroline, if you were doing it, you would be a runner or a volleyball player, and that would count good.
Right.
It also counts good when you've worked with a veterinarian.
Right. Well, that was a great answer. And kind of piggybacking off of that, since there's been an increasing demand of vets since COVID, what does this mean for students in terms of acceptance rates and job prospects?
Well, the first part, for COVID's influence on the number of pets in the country was a marked increase in the number of pets because people were staying home and they wanted the company of pets. So animal shelters that adopted pets out, they were empty. I knew of places in the Midwest who were sending dogs to the East Coast so that they could be put into adoption centers, because many people who were confined to staying home, they wanted pets to be there with them. Now, the second part, how does this affect the young people who are trying to get into veterinary school? It's a very difficult thing. Purdue University Veterinary School last year had about 1,800 applicants for 85 positions. That's not a very high percent, but I don't say that to discourage people from applying, because 85 people are going to get in. So I don't discourage people from applying to veterinary school.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Purdue's veterinary school, how has it changed since you were a student here?
That was many years ago. I was in the third graduating class at Purdue, and that was accepted and I was accepted in 1962. There weren't nearly as many applicants at that time. At that time, everyone took the same curriculum. There were 50 of us who began that semester, that first semester, and we all took the same courses. And if we failed one course, we failed that whole semester. So it has changed because students are, I think, probably brighter than they were than I was when I was in school, and it's still a very dynamic vocation. It's a wonderful vocation. Veterinarians, I think, are trusted by almost all the people in the general public across the country.
Yeah, great answer too. And from your research, when you earned your PhD, what have you learned specifically about transmittable diseases from animals to humans?
The diseases that are transmitted from animals to man or vice versa are called zoonoses. And in all the known diseases, infectious diseases of man, a little over 60% of those can be or are transmitted from animals to man. Back over the years of my affiliation with animal diseases, I can name quite a number of brand new diseases. We've got a new disease in people known as COVID-19. Now, a number of diseases that haven't been as widespread as COVID, but have occurred in animals. We've had parvovirus in dogs is a brand new disease. Coronavirus in turkeys, a brand new disease. Infectious bovine, BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, which is mad cow disease. That's a brand new disease that was first identified in 1980s in England. So new diseases come along all the time, and it's a challenge to keep up with identifying these diseases and putting forth means whereby those diseases can be prevented or extinguished across the country. We've got a disease years ago when pigs died, the chances were very high that they died of hog cholera in the early parts of the century. Now, hog cholera has totally been eliminated from this country. So a concentrated effort can be initiated to totally get rid of diseases. That's kind of like smallpox in people. We don't have smallpox anywhere in the world now.
How would you say that researchers or scientists could prevent or contain these types of diseases?
One of the big things, and another disease that we had in pigs, I keep talking about pigs because Indiana is big in pigs. We've got a lot of pigs in Indiana. And one of the diseases that was very catastrophic for pigs was pseudorabies. And we managed to eliminate all pseudorabies from Indiana swine. In fact, it's now considered a foreign animal disease. And one of the things that was so instrumental in getting rid of pseudorabies was the development of a vaccine. So when we got the vaccine, and we also developed a test where we could tell whether or not the reaction in a particular pig was due to the vaccine or was it due to natural disease. That was a tremendous boost in getting rid of that disease.
Great answer. I love that. To wrap up, I know there's a lot of audience members, especially college students, taking care of their pets on or off campus. How do you think inflation has affected pet care and pet owners?
Well, inflation is not a good thing for anybody. So inflation has increased the cost of keeping a pet. And there's really no way around that. It's just that inflation is not good, and it affects the veterinary profession, it affects animal owners, it affects all of us. And if we can do away with inflation, that's good.
Well, great. That's all the time we have today. Thank you to our guest, Dr. Leon Thacker, for being with us today, and thank you for watching Washington.